It's all done. This 40-year-old Les Paul has finally got a brand new lease on life. Let me tell you about it. So this is, or was, a stock Les Paul Artist made during the Nolan era by Gibson. So for people who don't know, Gibson came out with this guitar called the RD Artist not long after they had acquired Moog, that incorporated a whole section with the Moog electronics. Now if you're a fan of the band Ghost, which I certainly am, they're probably the most prominent artist that uses that RD body shape. The artist that uses the RD Artist body shape. Does that make a whole lot of sense? So anyway, Gibson's initial attempt was to take that brand new body style, chuck a whole circuit that had, from memory, like a compressor expander, a phaser, and an active treble control. I'm probably completely wrong. I will put the original specs in the video. I should have done my research before this, I guess. And they weren't very popular at the time, so they thought, we'll chuck it in a Les Paul, what could go wrong? And essentially what they did was take a Les Paul Custom. As you can see, there's a different inlay. I like to look at that and tell myself that it says LT, and it's kind of like my signature model. I'm not deluded at all.
I'm not deluded at all.
So the original owner thought it was a great idea to install a Carla Trem on there by hand with a chisel, and they butchered the guitar. The active electronics were pulled out at some point by a previous owner, and there was this horrendous locking nut put on there, as well as new tuners. So initially, I got the guitar thinking, this is really cool, I'll find a circuit, I'll get it back to working order, and it just wasn't feasible. There was this crater in the top of the guitar. So what I did was I got this Stetsbar Trem, which basically covers up the hole. Did my best to fill the hole. We've got that on there, and then I just ripped all the electronics out and put a Sir Doug Aldrich bridge pickup in there, and I've got a PRS McCarty neck pickup in there. The neck pickup and the bridge pickup, as you'll hear, they're not super balanced, so I'll probably put a different neck pickup in at some point. It also had a brass nut, but now it's got a bone nut, more of that in a second, and I went with the traditional Les Paul style wiring. Another interesting feature is this tummy cut here. It's it's not exactly generous, and the guitar is pretty heavy even though there's so much wood missing from it. Now the brass nut on there was fine, but the frets were completely shot. This was like fretless Wonder style stuff. There was absolutely no life left in them, there was no sustain, and it was a pretty unpleasant guitar to play, as well as having like a horrendous sticky lacquer on the back of the neck. So thanks to Tim at MT Guitars, he went to town on this, completely gave the guitar a do-over. It was plecked, so the pleck radiused the fingerboard to make sure everything was good, cut a new nut, and he also refretted the guitar. He's got this really cool fretting jig, which I need to do a little video about, and then he's done a full pleck setup on it. Works really, really well. The Stetsbar stays in tune really, really nicely. I've just got standard Grovers on here with the bone nut and drop C, and it sounds like this. Gig this guitar on the weekend. I'm so happy with it, and hopefully this will make it onto some future recordings and plenty of future gigs.